A very good evening to you and welcome to the main news at 7, coming to you live from Kuwait City. This is KTV2. I'm Adib Shahiber. Our top stories tonight. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees highlights the humanitarian role of Kuwait under His Highness the Emir. Palestine's Abbas hold talks with Egypt's El-Sisi on the Gaza crisis. An Iraqi suicide bomber kills at least 11 people in Baghdad. And the Colombian military delegation is to meet with FARC rebels in Cuba for talks after a 50-year standoff. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees, Antonio Guterres, highlighted the humanitarian role of Kuwait under His Highness the Emir, Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Sabah, during a visit by the First Deputy Premier and Foreign Minister, Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, to the UN headquarters in Geneva at the head of an Arab delegation. In the presence of Secretary General of the Arab League, Dr. Nabil Al-Arabi, the delegation discussed the humanitarian situation in various hotspots with the UN High Commissioner for Refugees and the Director of the Rashid Khalikov separately. High Commissioner Guterres stated that Kuwait, as a government and people, offers outstanding contributions to the relief programs of UN Refugee Agency for the displaced people in Syria and other countries. He also affirmed that His Highness the Emir offers the international community an exemplary portrait of the tolerant values of Islam, and thanks to His Highness's political wisdom, Kuwait has become a global humanitarian center for addressing the disasters of the displaced people in Syria and other parts of the world. Guterres also referred to Kuwait hosting the 2 sessions of the International Humanitarian Pledging Conference for Syria in 2013 and 2014. Amid pushes for a lasting truce, President Mahmoud Abbas is in Egypt to discuss a permanent ceasefire between Israelis and Palestinians. However, the war on the ground is still a daily reality in the besieged Gaza Strip. More now with Majd Al-Wahidi from Gaza.
Following desperate attempts to secure a ceasefire between Israelis and Palestinians, President Mahmoud Abbas made his way to Egypt to meet President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Hamas officials to finalize a Palestinian-Israeli ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. Egypt has brokered brief ceasefire agreements between both sides, but a permanent truce is yet to be reached.
I believe that the current diplomacy by President Mahmoud Abbas is intended to reach a final and permanent ceasefire between the Palestinians and the Israelis, but a ceasefire that will have to satisfy the Palestinian demands of ending the siege, open the border crossing, but it will also deal with some Israeli security needs, but not disarming the Palestinian resistance groups.
However, the situation on ground is still complicated. For the 48th day, Israel continued bombarding several areas. The majority of war victims are civilians. During the past 5 weeks, thousands of houses were also destroyed, and families are no longer safe.
We heard 2 rockets falling on our home. We started to run away, but F-16 or plane also fired another rocket. In the same building, we had 20 family members, but after the Israeli airstrike, most of them were severely injured and our home was completely destroyed.
Palestinian resistance factions, mainly Hamas and Islamic Jihad, are responsible for firing rockets into Israel. Yesterday, an Israeli child died by a mortar shell fired into southern Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed that Gaza will pay a price. However, since Israel's Operational Protective Edge began, more than 500 Palestinian children have died. The imbalance of power is obvious. Less than 10 Israeli civilians have died, while in Gaza, 20 times more lives have been lost so far. People here say if siege was a slow death, this war is even worse. While politicians continue to debate and negotiate, Gazans demand an immediate end to Israel's deadly offensive so they can rebuild their lives once again. Majd Al-Wahidi, Kuwait TV, Gaza.
Meanwhile, in Cairo, the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas spoke today in a press conference on the situation in Gaza and the resumption of peace talks. Abbas stated that the Palestinians' primary concern is putting an immediate stop to the bloodshed in Gaza. According to the Palestinian health officials, at least 2,092 Palestinians have been killed since Israel's offensive on the Gaza Strip began on July the 8th. Abbas praised Egyptian efforts at sponsoring the talks, adding that it has been the sole mediator thus far. The president also stated that he reached an agreement with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah Sisi on continued Egyptian-sponsored talks to reach a permanent ceasefire and for a Palestinian delegation headed by senior Fatah leader Azzam al-Ahmed to return to Cairo once more. Obama administration officials hinted yesterday that the U.S. could extend military strikes into Syria to target the terrorist bases even as the radical groups are being pounded by airstrikes in Iraq. The White House said the president has received no military options beyond those he authorized earlier this month for limited airstrikes against terrorist groups in Iraq and military aid to Iraqi and Kurdish forces. The U.S. government has also avoided military involvement in Syria's 3-year civil war. To weaken the group, Obama has stressed keeping up military assistance to Iraq and continuing efforts to create a new inclusive government in Baghdad that can unite all parties. In a related development, Iraqi officials said that a suicide bomber hit an interior ministry building in central Baghdad today, killing at least 11 people. The suicide bomber drove a car loaded with explosives into the gate of the intelligence headquarters in Karada district. The attacks came hours after Parliament Speaker Salim al-Jabouri said that a committee of security officials and lawmakers would announce the findings of an investigation into yesterday's attack against a village mosque in Diyala province in 2 days' time. The attack led 2 major paramilitary blocs to pull out of talks on forming a new government. The move creates a major hurdle for Prime Minister-designate Haider al-Abadi as he struggles to reach out to minorities to form a government by the 10th of September. A Yemeni government source reported today that the government offered to resign within a month and to review an unpopular decision to cut fuel subsidies in an attempt to end protest by the Houthi movement. Tens of thousands of Yemenis massed in the capital Sana'a yesterday in a protest called by the Houthis to demand the government's resignation and a reversal of the subsidy cuts. The rally came at the end of a week of demonstrations that have piled pressure on President Abdurrab Mansour Hadi, who has struggled to keep order in the U.S. allied country, which borders major oil exporter Saudi Arabia. Several trucks from a Russian convoy that passed into Ukraine without permission from Kiev returned back across the border into Russia today. The checkpoint on the Ukrainian side was being operated by separatist rebels who inspected the vehicles. Yesterday, White House officials said Russia's unauthorized movement of the humanitarian truck convoy into Ukraine is a flagrant violation of Ukraine's sovereignty. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon also voiced concern about the convoy's movement, saying any unilateral action has the potential of exacerbating an already dangerous situation in eastern Ukraine. A high-level Colombian military delegation traveled to Cuba Thursday to meet with the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, or FARC, rebels for peace talks. General Javier Flores, head of the Joint Chief of Staff of the military forces, led the 4-man delegation and is expected to meet with members of the FARC this weekend in Havana, the capital of Cuba, where the peace talks are being held. Flores and the rebels are to discuss the mechanisms for a definitive bilateral ceasefire and disarming the insurgents. 4 days after large landslides killed dozens of people in the suburbs, rescue crews in the Japanese city of Hiroshima continue to search for survivors. The city's disaster prevention office said 6 bodies were found today, raising the death toll to 46, while 41 people remain missing. About 3,000 firefighters, rescue workers and police have been scouring the area in a race against time to find those missing. 2 alarming new cases of Ebola have emerged in Nigeria, widening the circle of people infected beyond the immediate group of caregivers who treated a dying airline passenger in one of Africa's largest cities. The outbreak also continues to spread elsewhere in West Africa, with 142 more cases recorded, bringing the new total to 2,615, with 1,427 deaths. The 2 new cases were affected by their spouses, both medical workers, who had direct contact with the Liberian-American Patrick Sawyer, who flew into Nigeria from Liberia and Togo and infected 11 others before he died in July. Back in Kuwait now, and the 24th annual Al Ghos, or Pearl Diving Heritage Revival Festival, wrapped up this weekend, and the week-long expedition teams returned to a large crowd at the Kuwait Sea Sports Club. The Pearl Divers arrived to a boisterous welcome arranged at the club, attended by the Minister of Justice, Jamal Al-Shihab, and Director of the Public Authority for Youth and Sports Affairs, Faisal Al-Jazaf. Our reporter Badriya Saleh was there and has the story.
9 traditional wooden boats lined the horizon as the pearl diving adventurers returned to the Salmiya Sea Sports Club from Khairan for the closing ceremony of the exhibition known as Yom al-Ghafil. Across the shoreline, family and friends cheered and welcomed the returning divers with great exclamations of joy and excitement as the 24th annual Pearl Diving Heritage Revival Festival made a triumphant return.
Actually, it's a journey. What's happened actually every year. It's hard for the people, for kids, but actually it's very nice, and I would like to do it again every year. It's hard and hot, but there's sometimes can do it at all. Like that.
The 160-strong diving team spent 7 days in Khairan, where they explored the banks for pearls. More than 200 pearls were collected, and the count continued to rise as the teams demonstrated cracking oyster shells for the public upon their arrival.
Everything should help each other because we are brothers. When we help each other, we should to keep in touch and like that, so we can have fun and do our journey.
As per tradition, the closing ceremony was graced by song and dance. Celebratory tunes with the accompaniment of drums sounded the divers' return, while veteran captains and professional artists rallied the crowd, boisterously singing traditional favorites. A harmonious end to yet another successful and proud exhibition. At the Sea Sports Club in Salmiya, this is Badriya Saleh reporting for the English News.
And under the auspices of the Minister of Information and Minister of State for Youth Affairs, Sheikh Salman Sabah Salim Al-Hamoud Al-Subah, the 16th Festival for Children and Youth concluded in a grand honouring ceremony. Both the participants, educators and teachers were awarded for their distinctive contributions. The concluding ceremony took place at Abdulaziz Hussain Cultural Centre in Mishrif and was attended by the National Council for Culture, Arts and Letters, Bedel Dwesh, who distributed the awards. We have this report.
The 16th Festival for Children and Youth witnessed over a span of 10 days an array of cultural activities that encourage children and the youth to innovate and contribute effectively in their society and even on a global level. Cultural and social activities, for example, encourage the youth to utilize their spare time with positive activities such as workshop activities that can enhance certain talents and skills that they may possess, while also building character confidence.
We have an award, a trophy. They're saying basically thank you for working with us. I was teaching a class of drawing for beginners, so it's basically the very basic building block of drawing and design, and we did a lot of activities. I brought some of my father's paintings, some of my mother's painting, Lydia Qatan, Khalifa Al-Qatan, of course, and the kids really had a lot of fun drawing and enjoying explaining some of the paintings, and we did a lot of on the field, you know, like we would go to the garden, and I'm teaching the children basically to observe details and to use colors and to use symbolism, and I hope they had fun. I really enjoyed the children. I think I'm going to miss them very much. I really enjoyed so much working with the children, and I'd like to thank the director of the Cultural Center, Abdulaziz Hussain Cultural Center, Ms. Mariam Salmin, because she's the one who gave me this opportunity to teach an art class for children. And I really did enjoy very much, and I'm of course very grateful to the National Council of Arts, Culture and National Council of Culture, Arts and Letters for their appreciation for all the teachers, not just for myself. I mean, it's something that yes, we do feel appreciated.
Assistant Secretary General of the National Council for Culture, Arts and Letters, Bedel Dwesh, who attended the closing ceremony, noted that the festival mainly sought to raise more interesting culture and art awareness, encouraging the most important category of society, the children and youth, to innovate.
Being strong in the reading and writing, and there's some people when they are small, they was coming to this club to learn the reading and to learn the reading and writing and be strong to in the future they're going to be some of them they're going to be writers of read stories. They read when they are small. Some people they read. They are being strong in reading. With this club helps children to read and being strong by reading and writing.
We learned that people can be strong in reading and writing. The most important, we should be strong in writing and reading. When we are small, we should learn how to read. In the future, we may become writers or etc. like that.
The training sessions that covered various arts, music, drawing and theatre performances and workshops have been a positive platform for the participants' skills and revealed other fantastic abilities in the youth to surface, in which can certainly be developed and nourished.
Children indeed are an inspiration. Tonight witnessed the closing ceremony of the 16th Children's Cultural Festival. From Abdulaziz Hussein Cultural Centre Mashrif, I'm Genwa Jaburi reporting to you for the English News.
That just about rounds up the news for tonight. For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. And don't forget to tune in to our nightly show Focus on Sports if you're into sports at 7:30 p.m. right here on KTV2. So that's in a few minutes from now. Thanks for tuning in. Good night. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees highlights the humanitarian role of Kuwait under His Highness the Emir. Palestine's Abbas holds talks with Egypt's al-Sisi on the Gaza crisis. An Iraqi suicide bomber kills at least 11 people in Baghdad. And a Colombian military delegation is to meet with FARC rebels in Cuba for talks after a 50-year standoff.